Good day to you. Welcome back to the podcast. Catch it, a new perception. My name is Ketuk. I hope that today finds you and the people that you love well. Thinking about how we move forward and the things that we do, how we present ourselves, how we show up, the things that we say. How important is not just the terminology that we use, not just the approach that we use. How important is it to keep our word? When we say something, do we follow through? The terminology we may use around this could vary from be impeccable with your word, your words. Be able to move forward doing what you said you would do. Go ahead and follow through with what it was that you told me you would do. Whatever terminology you want to use. How does that work in your life? I think about things. When I was younger, I would hear the expression more. I don't hear it so much anymore. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe it's more of a youth thing. I don't know. I used to hear people say, well, do you promise? I don't know what kind of look I gave them. I don't know what they received from my eyes looking at them. I know sometimes I would think, why? What does that mean? Have I ever said something to you and then not done everything in my power to follow through? There's a lot of different layers to this, I get it. Because doing my best to follow through is what I'm talking about. So could something get in the way of that and something take priority that I didn't see coming? Yes. And for the most part, when I tell someone I'm going to be there, I show up. This man invited me into a sacred circle, what seems like many years ago now. And it was for a special occasion, and he was the one conducting the ceremony. And so it was a day of a giveaway and many things going on. A 4-year celebration for someone who had passed and returned to the mystery. This woman who was honoring her mother. And he invited me into this inipi. I had no idea that a decade or more later, possibly decades, not quite now, I would still be going to where he conducts ceremony every single month. I didn't give him my word and say, I'll be here. I just started showing up. I kept showing up. Sometimes I've showed up in snowstorms when no one else did. I would just show up every time he had one scheduled. I would plan vacations around that particular ceremony to make sure I was there as he became my ate. He's the one that named me. He did many things for me when it comes to the tribal ways that I have learned. And I didn't give him my word in the sense that I told him, I'll be here every month with you. I didn't say that to him. He opened his door. He welcomed me into his home. He welcomed me into the inipi ceremony. And I show up every month. There's follow through. Am I impeccable to my word at that point? Unspoken words. That is different than the way I was when I was coming up. I didn't have the ability to be able to just follow through, say this is what I'm going to do, and then go out of my way, literally go out of my way. He holds a ceremony that falls on the second Sunday. That's Mother's Day every year. I don't know that I've missed a Mother's Day with him. Falls on my wife's birthday. Sometimes her birthday's on the second Sunday. Okay. I make sure that my wife gets the attention she needs on her birthday. On my birthday, I show up there. I have nothing better to do in the world other than show up. So it's more about being able to not necessarily say the words. It's about the follow through with it. Now, years later, I have paid attention and I show up at that ceremony every single month. I think that's wonderful. What about other aspects of my life? I spoke on this podcast, a different episode at one point, about telling my son that I was sorry and what that meant to me. When I say I'm sorry, two things need to be present. I need to feel sorrow in my heart, and I need to know that I will do everything in my power to not let this happen again. And if those two things are not present, I will not tell someone I'm sorry. To me, there's follow through. I am being as true to my words as I can when I do that. The other day I'm at work and I had something plugged in, and I reached down on the floor to unplug this charger I had, and I turned and this woman was walking towards her locker and didn't expect me to be there, and she says, "Oh, sorry." And I said, "For what?" She's like, "You're weird." I'm like, "Okay, good." And I thought about how people use the word sorry, and it means nothing to them. They have no idea. I don't even think what terminology they're using. It's like when somebody walks up and says, "How the F are you?" Oh, I guess I'm okay. Sounds like maybe you're not. I don't understand how sometimes people just say, sorry. That's not being impeccable to your word. Or you don't know what the word means, possibly. I don't know. And maybe it means something totally different to other people than what it means to me. Maybe I'm the one that doesn't know what it means. I do know what it means to me. Have I looked it up in a common dictionary today? I haven't looked the word sorry up. So I don't know. Maybe I'm of a different generation and I don't even understand the terminology anymore. Or maybe I understand the terminology and a lot of people don't. They just throw words out there and they mean nothing to them. When I say I'm sorry, it means I will do everything in my power to not do it again. It means that I feel sorrow in my heart. I think about these types of things because it's like I was at work a number of years ago, 12, 15 years ago, maybe. I don't know how long ago. And I had a supervisor at work. I think I may have mentioned this at some point in a different episode also. I had a supervisor at work. When they found out, I had said something to them about how little my paycheck was because I was working for tips at the time. All my tips get turned in at the end of the night, and then everything comes on my paycheck. Tips, hourly wage, everything. And it was a very insignificant amount by anyone's standards, how little was on my paycheck. And I said something. She looked at me and she said, "You're lying." I looked her straight in the eyes and I said, "I have nothing left in this lifetime to lie about. I don't need to be dishonest about anything. I need to be able to find a way to be able to say things, to be able to do things, and follow through. So that means that I'm going to do everything in my power today to do things and say things that have integrity, love, intention. I say I'm going to go to work. I don't call into work and I don't show up late. That, to me, is being honorable to my word. When I told the people who employ me that I wanted to work for them, I didn't make the agreement and say I'll show up if I want to or I'll show up when I want to. I made the agreement that I would show up when they ask me to, how often they ask me to, and then they agree to pay me a allotted amount for doing that. It's interesting to me because to me that's part of being impeccable to my word, is when I tell them that I'm going to be there, I'm there. I don't call in. I don't just not show up. If I'm not going to be there, there's going to be a reason behind it. Now, these may not be the things that you agree with when it comes to being impeccable to your word. It's not what I speak that I must have the follow-through with any more than the intent behind it. I think it's important that when I speak, I have follow-through. I think that's very important. For me, it needs to be bigger than that. I want to be able to have follow-through with every single thing I do. So, when I lay it out there in any fashion that this is what I agreed to, I want to be able to follow through with it. I do it better than I've ever done it, probably because of some of the people that have come before me. I happen to have a couple of parents who had, from what I can tell, a very good work ethic, probably instilled in me and my siblings alike. And I think it's a good thing. You know, I have said on this podcast that I believe that when you get married, you have two options. That you can either grow together or you can grow apart. Well, part of that growing together is if you have someone in the marriage who has a good work ethic and one of them that doesn't, chances are one of them's going to get a better work ethic or one of them's going to get a work ethic that isn't as good. If you have one in the marriage that is very neat and clean about everything and the other one's rather messy, chances are one person's going to become more messy or the other one's going to pick up better after themselves. I understand that these things don't always happen. How is it I can be impeccable to my word without speaking words? How is it I can walk through life with good intention and good follow-through? It's what I strive to do. As I work to get to know my higher self, these are the actions I take. I have much to learn. I come into this lifetime to teach and to learn. and I need to pay attention to what it is I have to learn. Looking forward to next time. Live in harmony with and use the bounty of the land to bring kindness to the world. Dok Shao Ke.